Saint Teresa of Ávila stands among the greatest spiritual figures in Christian history. She was a mystic who experienced profound union with God, a reformer who renewed religious life, and a teacher whose writings continue to guide souls in prayer and perseverance. Her life was not one of ease or constant consolation. It was marked by illness, inner struggle, misunderstanding, and opposition. Yet through all things, Teresa learned to trust God completely, teaching the Church that holiness grows through humility, courage, and faithful prayer. Teresa was born on March 28, 1515, in Avila, Spain. Her father, Alonso Sanchez de Cepeda, was a pious and disciplined man who carefully raised his children in the faith. Her mother, Beatriz de Ahumada, nurtured Teresa's early love for prayer, reading, and devotion to the saints. As a child, Teresa was imaginative and sensitive. She loved reading the lives of the martyrs and saints, and at the age of 7, she once attempted to run away with her brother Rodrigo to seek martyrdom among the Moors. Although innocent and devout, Teresa also had a lively personality. She enjoyed friendships, stories, and admiration, traits that would later become both a strength and a spiritual challenge. When Teresa was 14, her mother died. This loss deeply affected her, and she turned to the Virgin Mary, entrusting herself to her as a spiritual mother. During her teenage years, Teresa struggled between worldly attractions and the call of God. She enjoyed social life and feared the sacrifices required by religious life. Yet God was quietly at work in her soul. At the age of 20, Teresa entered the Carmelite convent of the Incarnation in Avila. Soon after, she fell gravely ill, suffering from paralysis, intense pain, and long periods of unconsciousness. For nearly 3 years, she lived in physical weakness, depending entirely on others. Many believed she would die. This suffering taught her humility and dependence on God. Later, she would write that trials are often God's chosen path for forming the soul. After her recovery, Teresa lived for many years in a state she later described as mediocre. She prayed, but without depth. She avoided serious sin, yet lacked total surrender. Her decisive conversion came when she contemplated an image of Christ scourged at the pillar. After her conversion, Teresa entered a period of profound mystical prayer. She experienced deep recollection, infused contemplation, and moments of spiritual ecstasy. These experiences were not sought by Teresa. She often feared deception and submitted everything to spiritual directors and confessors. Among her most famous mystical experiences was the transverberation of the heart, in which she felt her heart pierced by divine love. Despite extraordinary graces, Teresa never considered herself holy by nature. She insisted that mystical experiences are not proof of sanctity. True holiness, she taught, is shown through humility, obedience, charity, and perseverance. In the interior castle, Teresa describes 7 mansions within the soul. The first mansions represent conversion and the struggle against sin. The middle mansions reflect growth in virtue and prayer. The final mansions describe spiritual marriage, complete union with God. This journey is not linear or easy. Progress often comes through suffering, darkness, and fidelity. Moved by God, Teresa sought to reform the Carmelite order. She desired communities rooted in silence, poverty, fraternity, and prayer. In 1562, she founded the first Reformed convent, Saint Joseph of Ávila. Saint Teresa named the first Reformed convent Saint Joseph of Ávila because she entrusted the reform to his protection and saw in him the perfect model of humble, hidden holiness. This was met with strong opposition, suspicion, and ridicule. Because they demanded strict poverty, silence, and austerity, challenged comfortable routines, and were viewed with suspicion due to her mystical experiences and the radical nature of her authority as a woman reformer. Yet Teresa persevered. Over 20 years, she founded 17 convents for women and supported the reform of the friars. Saint Teresa found a key collaborator in Saint John of the Cross, a fellow Carmelite with a deep holiness and wisdom. Together, they worked to advance the Carmelite reform, supporting stricter prayer, silence, and poverty. Teresa recognized his gifts early and encouraged him to persevere, even when he faced persecution, imprisonment, and suffering for his faith. Because of her mystical experiences and reforms, Teresa was examined by church authorities. Her writings were scrutinized during a time of great caution against spiritual error. She accepted this humbly, confident that truth does not fear the light. Teresa was never condemned. Her obedience protected her work and legacy. Teresa continued traveling, writing, and founding convents until her final illness. She died on October 4th, 1582, saying her last words, "At last, Lord, I am a daughter of the Church." Her holiness was formally recognized by the Church after her death. She was beatified in 1614 by Pope Paul V and canonized in 1622 by Pope Gregory XV, alongside other great saints of the Catholic Reformation. Centuries later, in 1970, Pope Paul VI declared her a Doctor of the Church, the first woman to receive this title, honoring the profound theological and spiritual depth of her writings, especially on prayer and the interior life. Saint Teresa of Ávila teaches us that the journey to God is interior, requiring courage, humility, and trust. Her life shows that holiness is possible, not through perfection, but through faithful love. Her voice still echoes through the centuries. Do not be afraid. God dwells within. If the echoes of the saints inspire you, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us bring the wisdom and inspiration of the saints to more people, spreading their light and encouraging hearts around the world.